about when the first time you took a test was. Was it in first grade? Were they 7 years old? Was it in 5th grade? Does anybody have an example of a test that they actually remember taking?
Like a standardized one?
Nope, just a test.
A test?
Just a test.
We
Could be a,
that physical test in kindergarten.
Okay,
We walked the
physical
beam
test.
and did all of that.
I did first grade and it was like a math test.
okay.
Spelling test.
Yeah.
Spelling
that was
test?
it.
Did anybody ever cheat on any
timetables
Oh, yeah.
tests.
See, cheating on tests happens a lot too.
On my timetable.
Cheat
like
on
stop
your
it,
peak.
like
Yes.
So testing really gives students a lot of anxiety. It gives students the feel that they need to possibly cheat, possibly look on other people's work, and then just kind of actually judging students on how they are and who they are as a person. And that those scores, standardized testing is published in newspapers, articles. I mean, obviously we've all read about them, and it judges not only the children, but it also judges the teachers and the schools themselves. Few countries other than the United States give formal exams prior to the age of 16. The US tests students as young as 6, despite the fact that almost all experts in early childhood education condemn this practice. Our children are tested at an unprecedented extent, more than anywhere else in the world. And why is testing young students such a bad idea? It's difficult to communicate the depth of their understanding at such a young age. It is also, the skills develop rapidly and differently in young age students. I mean, from every adolescent age, people develop, I mean, 1 week you can do one thing and the next week you can grow and do something better. Test scores offer a quick and easy but not accurate way to chart progress. These scores contribute to pathological competitiveness in our culture. We are a very competitive culture. We always want to be the best. We always want to better ourselves. With the distribution that we saw in actually Jared's, the bell curve, there's always going to be somebody at the bottom appearing that they're doing terribly and that they're never going to be able to get out of the bottom. I also think that Cassandra talked about how they get put in a different class for what they're doing, kind of almost get segregated from all the others. And you kind of feel bad about yourself that you're in the dumb class, quote unquote. And why do they want to get better? There was a quote in my article that said, "I'm always going to be at the bottom, why bother trying?" In educating other children, we expect a different standard of assessment than is in the rest of our normal lives. Think about a job that you've had that demands employees to come up with the right answer on the spot, from memory, while the clock is ticking. Most other places, when you're at an employer, you can ask somebody for help. There's not a time clock that's telling you, tick, 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 you have to answer this now. How often are we forbidden to ask coworkers for help or depend on a larger organization for support? These test questions bear no resemblance to problems that occupy people in the real world. I think all of our articles kind of touched on that. What do these tests actually tell us? The main thing that they actually tell us is how big the students' houses are. Basically saying how wealthy we are, not the student's ability. Tests are simply not a valid measure of school's effectiveness. These tests don't assess the skills and dispositions that matter most. They tend to cause students to cram and memorize things into short-term memory. Like we said, if we were trying to take a 6th grade test tomorrow, I don't know if any of us would pass it. These tests only care about whether the student got the answer right. It does not observe understanding, and wrong answers don't necessarily signal the absence of understanding. Most standardized tests ignore the process by which students arrive at an answer. So we could miss a minor calculation by a pure guess, or just a minor calculation of error. So in general overview, why tests are wrong and bad, I kind of have 4 main points. Point number 1, they're timed, placing a premium on speed versus thoughtfulness or thoroughness. Secondly, multiple choice don't always allow students to show what they can do. Thirdly, we test often, and we test at an early primary grade, which is detrimental to the student themselves. And then fourthly, standardized tests can't measure initiative, creativity, imagination, conceptual thinking, curiosity, effort, judgment, commitment, goodwill, ethical reflection. The host of those things go on and on and on about what we could do better. I mean, who we are as a person. They basically, what tests measure are isolated skills, specific facts, and functions. So I have a little exit slip for you guys to discuss 2 reasons why standardized tests are poor, and then I'll have you hand those in at the end of class.